When we hear the word slavery, our minds often drift back to history books. Two grainy black and white photographs and tailies from a bygone era. We think of it as a dark chapter in human history, one that we've thankfully closed. But what if I told you that slavery is not a relic of the past? What if I told you it's happening right now, in the shadows of the wars we see on our screens every day? Today, we read peeling back the curtain on one of the darkest secrets of modern conflict: the resurgence of slavery. From the resource-rich lands of Central Africa to the war-torn landscapes of the Middle East, conflict has a devastating, often hidden, human cost. It doesn't just destroy buildings and infrastructure. It shatters lives and rips apart the very fabric of society. In the chaos and lawlessness that war creates, the most vulnerable people become prey. Men, women, and even children are captured, bought, and sold, their freedom stolen in the blink of an eye. This isn't the transatlantic slave trade of the 17th century. This is a new brutal form of bondage, thriving in the 21st century. Let's look at the drivers behind this horrifying reality. First, there's forced recruitment. Armed groups, desperate for soldiers, often raid villages and towns, abducting young men and boys. They are stripped of their identities, given a weapon, and forced to fight under threat of extreme violence against them or their families. They become cannon fodder, human shields, tools in a war they never chose. Their lives are no longer their own. They belong to a commander, a warlord. Think about it. One day you're a farmer, a student, a son. The next, you're holding a gun, forced to commit acts that will haunt you forever. This isn't a choice, it's enslavement. We have heard testimonies from survivors who were forced to become soldiers. They speak of a life of constant fear, where disobedience meant death. They were trapped, their will broken, their humanity systematically dismantled. They weren't just fighting a war. They were living in a mobile prison. But the horror doesn't end there. For women and girls, the nightmare often takes a different, equally terrifying form. In conflict zones, sexual slavery is rampant. It's used as a weapon of war to terrorize communities, to reward fighters, and to systematically break the spirit of a population. Women are abducted from their homes and forced into what is brutally termed forced marriage, or are sold in open markets. They are treated as property, their bodies becoming another battlefield. Imagine the story of a young woman. Let's call her Amina. She had dreams of becoming a teacher, but one night, her village was attacked. She was taken, along with many others. For months, she endured unimaginable suffering, passed between fighters. As a prize, her spirit was tested every single day. Her story, and the stories of thousands like her, are not just tragic anecdotes. They are a stark indictment of our collective failure to protect the most vulnerable during times of war. These women are not just victims of assault. They are slaves, their freedom and bodily autonomy completely erased. Beyond forced soldiering and sexual exploitation, there's also forced labor. The chaos of war creates a black market for everything, including people. Civilians captured by armed factions are often forced to work without pay, under brutal conditions. They might be forced to dig trenches, carry supplies, cook for fighters, or work in illegally controlled mines, extracting the very resources that fuel the conflict. This is slavery in its most classic definition. Forced labor for another's profit. Their work funds the war machine that keeps them captive. It's a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle of exploitation. Let's consider a man. Let's call him Joseph, a father of 3 who was captured while trying to flee a conflict zone. He was forced to work 16 hours a day in a makeshift mine, digging for minerals with his bare hands. He was given just enough food to survive, constantly watched by armed guards. He wasn't paid a single cent. The wealth he dug from the earth went directly into the pockets of the warlords who had stolen his life. His family has no idea if he is alive or dead. He is one of the ghosts of modern war, a slave whose existence is denied and ignored. So, why does this keep happening? The answer is complex. The breakdown of law and order is a major factor. When governments collapse, and there is no police force or judicial system to enforce rights, predators can act with total impunity. International laws that prohibit slavery and human trafficking become nearly impossible to enforce on the ground. Warlords and commanders operate outside any legal framework, creating their own brutal rules. Furthermore, these practices are deeply profitable. A forced soldier requires no salary. A slave laborer generates pure profit. The trafficking of women can be a lucrative source of income for armed groups. In the twisted economy of war, human beings become a renewable, exploitable resource. This commodification of human life is the ultimate moral failure. But there is hope. Brave individuals and organizations are working on the front lines to combat this. They document abuses, provide aid to survivors, and work to bring perpetrators to justice. They run secret networks to rescue victims, provide shelter and psychological support, and help them rebuild their shattered lives. The stories of escape and survival are a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Survivors like Amina and Joseph, who managed to break free, often become the most powerful advocates for change, their testimonies shining a light into the darkest corners of these conflicts. What can we, as individuals, do? The first and most crucial step is awareness. We cannot fight an enemy we do not see. By learning about this issue, by sharing this video, and by talking about it, we refuse to let these victims remain invisible. We challenge the world's indifference. We can also support organizations that are directly helping survivors of conflict-related slavery. They need resources to continue their life-saving work. And we must demand more from our governments too. Prioritize human rights in foreign policy, to support international justice mechanisms, and to put pressure on all parties in a conflict to uphold international law. Slavery did not end in the 19th century. It just changed its form and found new, dark places to hide. The shadows of modern warfare conceal a vast and terrible human tragedy, but shadows are dispersed by light. By educating ourselves and taking action, we can be that light. We can honor the victims, not just by remembering them, but by fighting for a world where no one's freedom can ever be stolen again. Thank you for watching and for taking the time to understand this critical issue. If this content resonated with you, please consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and sharing it to help spread awareness. Every voice adds to the chorus demanding change. See you next time.